Lantas sejauh mana era revolusi AI mampu mengoptimalkan pasar bisnis data center di tanah air? Kita akan bahasnya terkait dengan inovasi AI, perkuat potensi pasar data center RI bersama Mayank Srivastava, CEO BDx Data Centers. Hello Mayank, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
As a data center, can you provide an overview of BDx in fostering Indonesia's data center market?
Sure. So BDx, we are a regional data center player. We have facilities in all of APAC, but our biggest investment is Indonesia. And in Indonesia, we are the only data center provider who has an AI-ready data center infrastructure. So what that means is that AI has two types of workloads. One is where there is training, the large language models you might have heard of, where the machines train. And then the result of those trainings is to be passed on to the end users. So training and inference. And these two use cases of AI need different types of infrastructure. So for training, we have two data centers which will be about 650 megawatts of capacity in and around Jakarta. And for the inference workloads, we will have around 50 sites across the islands in the country to facilitate end usage.
Okay, Mayank, please provide an overview of the increasing adoption of AI technologies, particularly across Asia.
So the AI technologies around Asia have been, adoption has been going on for a few years. It's mostly been sort of below the radar. So all of the YouTube, for example, you see, or any of the social media channels, the recommendations that you see are all based out of AI, are all on AI. Going forward, the next leap of generative AI is where there's a lot of action already happening. You would see across Asia, the adoption is happening on automation. So self-driving cars that a lot of countries are working on. Creating sovereign AI clouds. That means a country's data to be within the country, to be trained for the citizens, to facilitate all of the e-services that you see. So the adoption in the APAC region is about to really go through the roof. In terms of data center capacity, what that means is that we are probably looking at anywhere between 10 to 12 gigawatts of data center capacity in the region.
How do you see Indonesians' adoption comparing to the other country in Southeast Asia?
Indonesia is blessed with a young population who are digital savvy, who are digital natives actually. So you'll see a lot of the young crowd who are not only consuming social media, but also are getting into creating their own startups. So as this adoption goes up, and as you see the sovereignty laws being implemented, the AI uptake in the country is really going to take off. And when that starts happening, the first thing that you need is infrastructure. And well, that's what people like us and others are there to help with.
Infrastructure. In your opinion, who are the primary entities, especially for the driving the deployment of AI infrastructure in Asia?
So AI infrastructure, you should think of it probably at 2 or 3 levels. So one is creating the servers which have the GPUs. That work was pioneered by a couple of companies in Asia. So TSMC and Foxconn in Taiwan are the biggest manufacturers of servers which have NVIDIA GPUs. And then the next step of infrastructure is a place to keep these servers, which is the data center. In the data center industry, there are a few players who have now sort of gotten to the gotten to enhance their infrastructure to be able to host AI workloads. And BDx, for example, we have gotten all our facilities to be ready to support the cutting-edge cooling technologies that are required to support AI infrastructure.
But do you see there is differences between the characteristic of the needs of AI adoption or infrastructure in Indonesia comparing to the other Asian countries?
The quality of infrastructure required is going to be the same. It is just that you have to think of countries like Japan or maybe Australia, who have had data center infrastructure for a long time. And Indonesia, which is now taking its first steps into the digitization journey.
Okay.
So establishing the infrastructure in Indonesia is the first step. And that is where people like us come in. And when we say that we have 700 megawatts of data center capacity across the country, that sort of shows our commitment in and our belief in the Indonesian ecosystem, in the fact that Indonesia, with its young population, 270 million people, digital natives, AI will take off.
Okay. It's interesting, but on the other hand, many businesses are evaluating AI infrastructure. And what do you think, the main challenges they face and what should be their top priorities to ensure successful implementation?
I think the most important thing that businesses should look at is where is the data being located. There is this concept called data colonization.
Data colonization.
So what does colonization mean? Colonization means that the country which is colonized exports raw materials to the colonizing country. The colonizing country, from the raw materials, creates finished goods and sends the finished goods to the colonized country. So the colonizing country is the one which retains the maximum value. In the context of data, data sort of is the new oil. In the context of data, if you don't have your data inside of your country and all of the value add, the computation, etc., that has to happen on the data, if it is not within that same country, then you will have somebody else making money off you. So the first thing that enterprises or businesses who are looking to get into data-driven digital ecosystem, the first thing is that they have to make sure that the data is hosted inside of the country. And the second thing they have to look for is that the data centers where they are putting in their data are future-proof. And what does future-proof mean? Future-proof means that for example, the kind of infrastructure which is required for generative AI workloads does not exist today. Largely, in Asia, it does not exist. People are sort of beginning to put that in place. So the enterprises and the businesses should be careful in evaluating the facilities which are future-proof. That means they can take on and support workloads for generative AI.
Okay, what should they consider about the evaluating of AI adoption?
So the most important thing is sustainability.
Sustainability.
Because data centers are huge power guzzlers. We barely have half a planet left. So I think it is incumbent upon everybody in the value chain, and customers, data center providers like us, to be responsible about the environment. So a data center which is powered by renewable energy, a data center which can support the intensive new technology that requires cutting-edge cooling solutions for the future.
Right.
Those sort of should be the two main concerns from a future-proofing perspective.
All right. What are the key specifications of high computing data centers infrastructure tailored for AI applications?
So specifications, I mean, So, so think of data centers like they're hosting servers, and the servers consume power. So think of it, so your laptop probably consumes 50 watts of power.
Oh.
Okay? The servers in one rack will consume 120 kilowatts of power.
Okay.
So that is about 250 times of the power that your laptop is consuming. Now, for that kind of power to be consumed, the servers have to be cooled. And the cooling technologies are getting more and more cutting edge by the day. So we send cooling to the chip, or we immerse the server in a fluid just to improve the heat extraction, the cooling. So the cooling specification for a data center going forward should be able to support these 120 kilowatt deployments. And you have multiple of these 120 kilowatts, and a big data center, for example, the one that we are building in Jatiluhur, can support up to 500 megawatts.
Okay.
So 50 watts, 120 kilowatts, 500 megawatts.
Wow.